Hallelujah. Good afternoon, good evening, everybody. We're on again with Voices of the Young Generation, and our sister Bethany Williams is going to be sharing. But before she does, I just want to remind everybody that Jeremiah was very young when he was called with his particular call, and he was saying to our Heavenly Father, you know, he was saying he's young. I'm young. Well, I'm paraphrasing it, and the Father let him know that He had called him. So Father's calling young people to make a difference. Jeremiah said, "I am a child." In verse 6 of Jeremiah, it says, "Then said I," this is what Jeremiah said, Lord God, or he said, Yahuwah, "Behold, I cannot speak, for I am a child." Verse 7, "But Yahuwah said unto him, Say not, I am a child, for you shall go to all that I shall send you, and whatsoever I command you, you shall speak." So Father is raising up the young generation, and He has anointed, and He is speaking through them such wisdom that it is astonishing. So I turn this over to Sister Bethany Williams.
Thank you. Like Rabbi said, this is Bethany Williams. Father, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk on this conference and talk on a very important topic that I think teens and young adults, 18 up to 21, around that age group. And it is school, public school, and this can also involve college. A lot of us teens here can all agree that when we get ready for school and public school, we're scared. We have anxiety. We're worrying about grades. We're worrying about what the girl was talking.
Okay, your phone went out. Just want to let you know.
Can you hear me now?
No, I can hear you, yes. Go ahead.
Were you able to hear anything I was saying?
Yes, you were saying about young people having anxiety when
yes.
they're preparing to go to school and
yes.
Go ahead.
A lot of teens that I talk to and friends that I have, they're always like, I'm really worried about these grades, and then some of them have parents that are, like really on them, like, you need to get straight A's, and there's just a whole bunch of really bad stuff that is in public school, very intimidating. And then when you get to 12th grade, then we start thinking, okay, am I going to college? Am I going to get a good GPA? What is it that I'm going to do? Then that anxiety starts. Some of us that are in high school have started driving, driver's ed, and, are nervous about, oh, great, now I'm driving on the road with a whole bunch of people. What do I do? So I have a video that I'm going to play. Trying to bring my tab up because I'm going to tell you, it's a teenager that I found on YouTube that is talking on TEDx. I don't know if any of you guys have looked at any of the videos. Her name is Carly Rogers, and it's TEDx Youth at Park City. And if any of you want the video, I'll share it with Rabbi, and Rabbi can share it with them. But I thought that this would be perfect, and this is a teenager talking on stresses. So I'm going to play it, like a little section, just to make sure that y'all can hear it. So I'll play a little bit, and then I'll ask if y'all can actually hear it. Give me a second.
Okay.
There are many days I hear my alarm waking me up for school, and I just... Can you hear that?
Yes.
Okay, good.
start getting out of bed. I have more than I need. I'm fed every day. I live in a wonderful house in a beautiful city, and I attend a good school, yet I still don't want to go. It is so easy to find the negatives of school. Things like stress and lack of interest in the classes are just some of the negatives that overpower the good. Yet at the perspective of another, their opinion would be completely different. Imagine a 14-year-old girl living in an African country. Her name is Adisa, and she is part of a family of 6 living in a one-room house. She would give anything to have the opportunity to learn, but her family can't afford it. To her, school would not be the terrible monster that I see. She would find the positive. She would see school as a way to make new friends and learn about the world around her. Thinking about Adisa and others in her situation made me feel very guilty. Here I am, complaining about my life when I have everything I need and more, while she would only dream of living a life like mine. I have been told to be successful in life, I have to succeed in school. I have been told to get into a good college, I have to make good grades and participate in as many school activities as possible. The way I see it, putting that much pressure on yourself to make good grades and participate in every school activity is not the best high school experience. For me, this just adds to the pressure and anxiety, making it more difficult to learn. I struggle with stress, and the pressure on having the best grades is always present. I was thinking about what the number 4.0 actually means to me, and I stumbled to answer. What does it mean? It has to mean something if I'm putting myself through so much to get it. I am one who strives to do my best, and the pressure and anxiety is making me question why. Why am I putting so much pressure on myself that I struggle to go to school? Stress about the workload, pressure on making good grades, it's a lot. Even for me who has never found school, it could be very difficult. I don't find myself struggling very often, but that doesn't make it any easier. If anything, it makes it more difficult. Many don't see how that could be the case. I've had several conversations where someone will say something along the lines of, if you're so good at school, why don't you like it? This question and the many different variations I have heard continue to confuse me. How does working hard to perform well in school take away the stress or dislike? I know from personal experience it just adds to the stress and dislike. I put myself through this so I have more opportunities to live a successful life, and I'm trying to understand why. When I hear my alarm waking me up for school, I get ready in a tired daze. I'm walking into a day filled with 7 hours of learning. Yikes. 7 hours of boredom, frustration, and judgment. I have many classes that take so much energy to keep from falling asleep. People that feel that because it's a group project, they don't have to do any of the work. Presentations that make me shake with nervousness. Peers that feel the need to make others feel bad about themselves. Add all of this to the stress and you're looking at the definition of misery. I look at school and see a bubble of negativity, yet at the perspective of another, their opinion would be completely different. Adisa would see school and go to school and be over the moon excited. She would want to experience all the different classes and different subjects. She wouldn't be so focused on the grades because she would be so much more interested in the actual learning. She would try her best to succeed and only see the stress as a small side effect of school. I try to have this perspective about school, especially because I am so incredibly lucky to have all that I do, but it is a constant struggle. I tell myself to think about school in the perspective of Adisa, who would give anything to take my place. I find the positives because that is what she would do. She would work with the situation even if she doesn't like everything about it. And I feel like this should be easier to do than it actually is, but it's not. I challenge you to think about your life from the perspective of someone who would give anything to take your place. Find the positives and encourage others to do the same. Know that it's only a portion of your life and it's not the worst thing you could be doing. I know it can be hard. Trust me, I struggle with it every day. Just remember, don't take anything for granted and embrace the stuff you don't like, because there is someone out there who would give anything to take your place.
Wow.
Was everyone able to hear that?
Oh my goodness, yes. Brought back lots of memories in my days as well.
When I saw this, I was like, wow, this teenager is overcoming, speaking to a huge crowd about, the perspective of, here in the United States, public schools are crazy. Public schools, even Christian schools, there's issues, and private schools, there's issues as well. The problem I've always had is with school is a lot of the school districts and colleges judge you on numbers. We always focus on, what good grade are we going to get? And sometimes the way the public school, it's like teach, test, teach, test, teach, test. And if you want extra help, you have to go after school during tutoring, and sometimes that doesn't even help because you're still really struggling. There's still a time frame of when the teacher has to go home or has to do something. So it's like we're not really, in public school, we're not really like keeping in the information. We're just studying the information and the materials so we can pass that test. But we never go back and we never look at, I need to study this for me because I'm going to need this when I get out into the real world. And a lot of us teenagers are scared of that, and young adults are scared of that because we know how hard it is and how, we're looking at school, and then when you get to college, it's like, oh my goodness, like, I need some serious prayer here. I mean, that's a new step, and so it's just the way society is. We just focus on, doing it so we can pass something, but we never take the time to actually sit back and study the material and do it for ourselves. A lot of us teenagers and young adults go to college or things like just to please the parents, just to be like, look, you're wanting me to get straight A's, so I'm just doing this for them. Same way with Father and reading scriptures. If you are a person who's trying to become a new creature and trying to live your life by Father, if you're just doing it for other people, if you're just praying just because your family tells you to, if you're just reading just because your family's telling you to do so, you're not going to get the full blessing from reading and praying and fasting and doing the things that you are supposed to be doing. You're just not, Father's not really going to be happy. You're not really going to feel the Holy Spirit. So let's step back and say, you know what? I need to do this for myself. I need to study for myself. I need to not worry what other people think of me. I need to just, and if I struggle, then don't be afraid to ask for help. A lot of us, when we are in public school, sometimes we don't get something and we're afraid to raise our hand. We're afraid to ask for help. And I know partially some of us are dealing with social anxiety and dealing with, some of us, can't go to parties. Some of us can't even go into groups because maybe it reminds us of people in our past or something like that. So it's just, but we can't let that get in the way of our learning because the way the public school is, we have to ask questions because it's just teach and test. So if we don't raise our hand, then that pattern, it'll just mess us up. But if you raise your hand and you ask for help and we get over our anxiety and we get over, my classmates are going to laugh at me. Those classmates that are laughing at you probably don't even know the material either. And they're glad that you raised your hand and you asked for help. Because a lot of them laugh because they're just as scared as you are. The bullies that you're facing and the people who are really bothering you, look at their life. You're like, why is that girl so mean? Why is that girl so aggravating? Well, is her parents divorced? Is she failing in grades? Does she have a lot of stress on her? Is she in clubs where people really look up to her? There's always a cause to a bully. No one just becomes a bully just to become a bully. There's always a behind-the-scenes reason why that person has become a bully. There was a movie that I looked at, and I think it's called Cyberbully. It was made, I believe, in 2013. I'll try to look it up and send it to Rabbi if any of you want to check it out. But basically, this boy, was bullying this other girl because, she had some of the things she had and just had parents. So it's the same thing as always. Either you're pretty or you have family or, your life is going great. And another thing I have to think about is a lot of the people that we're dealing with in these public schools and college, they don't really believe in Father. They're not living their, if they were living their lives by Father, then you would get people that we can trust, and you would get people that would take their time to help you. We wouldn't have people that just to make themselves feel good, they call you skinny. They say you're annoying. They say you're stupid. They use words like that. They pick on everybody else to make themselves feel good because they can't grasp the concept of just surrendering themselves to our Messiah. They don't want to do it because they say it's too much work. So what do? We have an increase in suicide rates, teens either with drugs or whatever it is. We have teens cutting themselves. We have teens giving their virginity up. We have teens trying so hard to fit in because nobody is giving the attention and respect that they need. Nobody treats anybody like friends anymore. We have to worry about people stabbing our backs. We have to worry about people grabbing us in a van and selling us into sex slave. We have to worry about all this stuff because as we read the scriptures, it has gotten really bad. Really, really bad. So when I get the opportunity to get on this conference, I really feel like I'm helping teens because maybe a teen will get on here and they'll hear what I'm saying and they may be about to kill themselves right now. They may be right now about to take pills or something. And what I'm saying might just save somebody because we don't have many people like I do that tries to talk and tries to help people. So when I do hear teens that are saying stuff or when I do hear adults that are running things for teens, it makes me so happy because I'm like, we could have just saved a life and we helped somebody get saved. That is so important in today's society. If we don't have that anymore, then there's no hope. So we've really got to lift our teenagers up. So to get into my next thing, and then I'll let somebody comment. For me personally, when I have started public school, or really, I'm going to just talk on high school. When I got to high school, when I went into ninth grade, I was scared because I was like, okay, high school, they don't hold your hand. See, in middle school and elementary, they hold your hand. And a lot of the teachers, they just give you good grades just to pass you, just to get out of here. A lot of these teachers don't care. They just care about their salary, their paycheck, and then they go home to the family. Some of them, I'm not saying all of them. I've had some awesome teachers in my school that actually were good, and I actually got A's and B's in that class. So don't get me wrong, there's teachers out there. But most of them teach, test, bye. That's it. So we have a lot of teachers like that. So that brings me to my thing of I had stress. I had to deal with people judging me because I have a light and because people can see flaws. They know that. They can sense it. So when they see that, they try to rip that away from me. I've been tempted. I've wanted to fit in. And it got to the point where I didn't focus on my grades anymore. I didn't focus on school anymore because I was so fed up with worrying about how people thought of me. Does this outfit look okay on me? At the time my mouth was kind of crooked and I have braces now and my mouth is better. But I used to be made fun of all the time. People would call me shark teeth and it was really bad. And I was like, that's it. I've had it. I can't focus on school anymore. So then, my parents and I talked and now I am homeschooled. I am in 12th grade right now and I like homeschool because it goes your own pace. You don't have to worry about teach, test, teach, test, teach, test. If you don't understand something, then you can spend 2 hours on it and you'll be able to understand it. You can also get into programs where they actually have tutoring and stuff like that, but it's not school. I can't remember the name of it. If I do, I'll let you guys know. But so we can look at videos. We can do that. See, the way teachers are in regular schools, they have, I forgot how much. I'm going to just throw a number out there, 20 students in a class. They can't just focus on one student. So that's why there's a pattern there. That's why sometimes we can't really learn the way to do, because they have to teach to a whole group. So with homeschool, you don't have to worry about being judged. You don't have to worry about, being judged by numbers. The majority of teens who are under less stress and are able to really understand the material, they're fine and they will pass and you will be successful. But if we keep having stress, if we keep bullying each other, if we keep losing hope in Father, if we keep not having faith, then where is our younger generation going to go? We all know where they're going to go. So we just really have to focus on, what they're going through. And some of us will see teens acting crazy, and of course, our first instinct is, what is wrong with that teenager? I can't stand teenagers. Well, before you say I can't stand teenagers, I challenge you to look at videos. I challenge you to look at what's going on and see that sometimes kids are acting up a certain way because they are hurting inside and they are scared and they are angry the majority of the time. So I'm going to end it with, continue to reach out. If you see one of your friends that are really having a hard time, talk to them about Father. Just sometimes teens just want you to listen. They don't want you to just tell them what to do, which we all know sometimes we do need people to tell us what to do because we will be wild if we didn't have correction. So just really take the time to pray and look, and before you're disgusted with teenagers and kids, please research and look on why that teenager is the way the teenager is and how maybe you can help that teenager. So I'm going to end it and let somebody else comment.
Well, I would certainly like to comment. First of all, I think you have done just an absolutely wonderful presentation and sharing and letting us see and feel what young people go through. That video also caused me to think about when I was a teenager, and here in the video, the young lady had everything, and she didn't have to worry about anything. They have to worry about whether she would eat or had a place to live or any of that. She didn't have that worry. Everything, if I have it right, she had everything. But then another young lady that was living wherever she was living, she didn't have all that. She would have given anything just to be able to go to school and be able to take advantage of that. It made me think about myself and why have I always loved school so much. And maybe it's because there were so many things going on in my life with people dying when I was still a young teenage girl, 14. And so it was like school was it for me. But some of my life had to be used in babysitting. I couldn't go to school every day in the week. And so I always had this desire to learn. I used to love the smell of chalk, and I couldn't wait for school to open. And so I'm hearing the presentation that you have given, and I didn't think about, I don't think I've really given it a great depth of thinking that young people that are about to go to high school or in high school or getting ready to go to college, I don't think I really thought about how much anxiety that they experience and go through. So I'm really blessed by this presentation because it caused me to think about myself and where I thought that I had to go through a lot of things, but because I did, I don't remember stressing out. I'm sure I did over tests and things, but I couldn't wait to get to school. And I couldn't wait. I had challenges, but I didn't have all those anxieties, except, having a home and having to go home and babysit and, every other, in the week, I would be there babysitting 3 days. 1 week, my other sister would babysit 2 days. The next week come up, then she would, I would babysit, the 3 days while she would go, because our mother had died. And there was nobody to keep the young baby. She died in childbirth. So anyway, I'm gonna shorten this. Everything that you presented, wow, it just totally blessed me. And I'm not a teenager. It has caused me to search within myself and to have more compassion that I thought I already had. I wasn't thinking all the time. I didn't have to think about somebody's going to maybe snatch me off the street, or that where I went to school, the people cared, because some of those were like country schools. And so there's a big difference than what's compared to this day.
Yes.
So I'm gonna be quiet, and I'm sure I didn't comment on every point, but I mean, it has really opened my eyes to have even more compassion on the young people that are trying to set goals for themselves and not given the time to process the information. I love what you said, that if you're learning it for yourself and not just to pass a test and please the teachers or the parents, but when you're doing it for yourself, that's what I heard you repeating more than once. When you do it for yourself, it makes a difference. And I love what you said about homeschool, that if it take you more than an hour to get the point, if it takes you 2 hours, you learn what you need to learn.
Yes, that's right.
And I also love the way that, I'm going to hurry up and be quiet in case somebody else want to comment. I also, you can tell how this has excited me, this presentation. And I love the fact that you always let us know that if you love Father, or if you love Messiah, well, you may not have said it all like this, but the word, but you didn't overpower everything with just the word. You presented life to us, and what teenagers do think about and what they sometimes go through, and we don't know why they're acting out because we don't take time to think. So anyway, I'm going to end my comment. I guess you can tell that I'm just, wow, I am deeply, deeply blessed.
Yeah, I think you did a great job, very thorough. I was actually impressed with everything that you put together. I'll just quickly share my own story. When I was in school from, well, we called it junior high then, and now they call them middle school, but from middle school and high school, we had the busing system here, where they were trying to keep the schools racially equal. So, like, you could live on the east side of town, and you were shipped all the way out to the west side of town to go to a school over there. So, we were easily on the school bus each trip about an hour and 45 minutes, sometimes 2 hours, depending on traffic, just to get to and from school because of the busing system. So we had to get up very early. We got home late. So we were tired from that. We were tired from school. And then you're not really with your so-called peers because the people you're around are not the people you're around where you live at. And one of my years was exceptionally hard because at the time we were living in a trailer park, and we were just, we were surviving, but we didn't really have money. You know what I mean? We had enough to survive, and that was about it. And they shipped me all the way across town to one of the rich schools. Anybody who knows what Myers Park is, there was a junior high that is connected with them. And so this was in my junior high year. And these kids had money. I mean, they were showing up in Mercedes and, just all the expensive vehicles, and they had all the expensive clothing. The school was already in a rich neighborhood. And so the kids from my side of town the other kids would be waiting for us to get off the bus, and they would just line up and laugh at us because you could tell, we were from the poor side of town. And they just would line up, and it was cruel. And they would tease us, all day long, make fun of us, call us names. And, it wasn't a whole lot that we could do about our station in life, our clothing. And I just remember it was a very cruel year. And so I at least had one year where it was very hard. And my high school year, I did well in my high school years because the school I went to, even though it was across town from me, I actually, did pretty well, and I liked the school. But I've had the experiences where it's very torturous. My junior high years, they sent us all over town, and I just will never forget them lining up, waiting, and pointing and laughing at us as we're getting off the school bus. But then we also think about when they segregated the schools, what those people went through. They actually had people with hatred in their hearts wanting to do them physical harm or worse. And so I think every generation has had some things that they've had to deal with. It's just always been different for each generation. Rabbi's situation, I'm sure there were some things in those times that made school difficult, some things. And maybe she was blessed and didn't even have to deal with anything at all. But I think every generation has something that they deal with. And in your generation, it's running from Father, hating Him, and doing everything they can to not have anything to do with Him. And you just see how our society has degraded as a result of it. And you're also in a school system, like you said, that's teach and test, teach and test, teach and test, and that's all they do. It's not about retaining what you've learned. It's just making you pass tests so that their salaries are increased because their record looks good because all these people passing tests. So, but anyway, that was just my little thing I wanted to add in. I did want to also say that there's nothing wrong with having goals, but we need to remember that's what they are. They're goals. They're not demands. Usually your life is not going to end if you don't fully reach that goal, but we should attempt to reach these goals, So we need to help these teens learn how to manage that. These are goals. These are things you're shooting for. Don't get so, down about it if you don't perfectly reach it or reach it when you have planned to reach it. So I remember somebody told me a while back, all failure is a message to you that you need to do something a different way. You just need to regroup and approach it a different way. And so that's some advice I would give to some of the youth in school now, and I will end my comment there.
Well, I just want to add, yes, I had some difficulty this was like in 6th or 7th grade where there were down south they call splashes on your skin. They would call them liver splashes, whatever that is. I need to look it up. And so I was always taunted because I had liver splashes on my face. So that was what I went through with some of the younger people at that time. And when I went to Washington D.C. and I went to school, it was a mixed school, and so my teacher was white. It was the first time I had a white teacher, and so I was afraid to. This was young. This was not teenager. Now this was younger. I understand about being afraid to put your hand up in the air, and I understand, but this was before the teenage. How you can feel anxiety at that time, but I'm gonna leave that alone. And you're right, we all go through something. In every generation there is something. So, but it caused me to keep working toward my goal. So let me just let me share, and I turn it back to you, Sister Bethany. I just want to share a scripture in Isaiah 40 verses 30 and 31. It said, even youths get tired and weary. Even strong young men clumsily stumble. But those who wait for Yahuwah's help find renewed strength. They rise up as if they had eagle's wings. They run without growing weary. They walk without getting tired. So that ends my comment.
Now, I do have something else to share, but I'll say it more toward the end. Does anybody else have a comment before I say anything?
I guess nobody else has a comment.
I would also like to give some advice for those who can't do homeschool and their parents are busy and they're having to deal with public school. One of the things that my parents have always taught me is to be organized. If you pack things the night before, you lay your outfit out, you lay your books and everything, or I wouldn't lay them out. I put them in my book bag because I might forget them. But if you have everything organized and you have organized folders, binders, then there's going to be a lot less stress. My thing is try to knock out as much stress as you can. So if you wake up tired, then if you don't have an outfit ready, then you're like, oh, I got to get up. I turn my alarm. Why isn't my alarm clock turned off? And then you got to deal with, oh, what am I going to wear? Just to prevent all of that stress, have everything laid out the night before. And the other thing is we have our cell phones, okay? A lot of us just text and that's it. We have cell phones for more than just texting. I have a thing that's called Echo Dot. A lot of you can actually research and look into what that is, but basically you can use it. I actually use it as an alarm to wake me up, tell me my agenda, tell me my news. It does a whole bunch of stuff. It does I don't have time to run down a list of things it can actually do, but I'm just gonna keep it simple. Set a timer. When I get home after dinner, let's say usually people eat around 7 o'clock. So, after that, if you have some homework to do, then you need to set an alarm. Okay, it's homework time. It's study time. So you make time for that. And then once you're done, then you can set another alarm. Get clothes ready. Get lunch ready. Whatever it is that you usually have to do, I would set an alarm on my phone to let me know what I need to do. And what I would also do is, now, you can't help when the teachers spring pop quizzes or quizzes you don't have no idea. That used to really bother me. I was like, I didn't study for it. But when there's a test, sometimes we get so stressed with maybe we're doing like basketball or football or something like that. And we get distracted with that, but we forget we have a test. Oh, you don't want to forget a test. So, have a calendar app. I actually have a thing that's called Cal, but basically, the calendar will tell you, okay, you're going to have a test on August 23rd. You're going to have an activity, something like that. So set a thing where it'll let you a week before, because some of us procrastinate and study the night before we have a test, and then we fail it because we didn't take the time to study over it. So that would be my advice. One of the main things is organization. If your book bag looks like a rat got in it, there's an issue. There, rats, birds, whatever you want to call it. If your backpack is looking like some animal house, it's time to change it up. Because what's going to happen is you're going to get on your teacher's nerves, because then they're going to start sending emails home saying, listen, I assigned this assignment to your child. Why am I not getting this assignment? I have to put zeros on it. I have to do that so that will solve the whole, and sometimes we do our homework. We do it. We study it. We do our homework. But it doesn't mean anything if you left it at home. It doesn't mean anything if you had applesauce left in your book bag and now it's spilled all on your homework and it's ruined and you can't do anything. And excuses like my dog ate my homework is not going to do anything. It's, if you don't have it, F. plain simple. If you don't have it, F, failure. So to avoid all that, use your phone like it's supposed to be. Yes, you can text and you can call, but use it as a tool. That's what my parents have always told me. When I was younger, I didn't get it, but I understand it now as I've gotten older. And now I'm in 12th grade. I'm just really trying to set my priorities straight. So that would be a really, really good, just a really good thing. And that will reduce a lot of, I'm not going to do so good on this. You'll be ahead of the game. I've always liked to be tried to be ahead, so I don't have to worry about not being on time or anything like that. So just keep that in mind. And one last thing is I'm going to connect it with Father. If you don't live your life by Father, then you're going to have a life of depression and you're going to have a life of failure all the time. Now, there is a difference. Some failures we have are normal because they build us up. But if we keep failing over and over and we keep having patterns, that starts to become an issue. It's okay to have goals. It's okay to, sometimes you do fail a test. Even though you put your hard work into it, some of us learn differently. Some of us learn at a slower pace. Some of us learn at a faster pace. So we really just have to look at if we live our life by Father, your life will be amazing. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be perfect. He will give you tests. He will give you things that you have to work on. But it's not always going to be negative. A lot of people get intimidated because, I'm trying to do right by Father, but now I have to do all this stuff. Don't look at it that way. If you do it for yourself and you also do it for Father and you try to connect yourself with Father, He'll help you through the stresses. He'll help you through the bullying. He'll help you through the thoughts of wanting to kill yourself. He'll help you with all of that. He'll heal your heart, mind, and soul. So that's one of the important things. Organization and Father, He is a Father of organization. Plain simple. So just remember that. And I'm going to finish up with that, and I'm going to see if anybody else has anything to say, and then I will actually end this with a prayer. So I'll see if anybody else has anything to say.
I guess not.
All right. I am going to do a prayer, and Rabbi, afterwards you can say or do anything that you would like to close with as well. Father, I just want to give you this. I just want to thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk on this conference. Thank you for giving me the tools to be able to share what I needed to share. Thank you for leaving the connection going, and thank you for letting everyone hear what I've had to share. In Yeshua's name, I ask that you please help the youth and help them with their organization skills, help them with their mindsets, help them with their goals, help them understand the difference between doing it for other people and doing it for themselves. Help build families, put the mothers and fathers back together, because a lot of teens are messed up because of the household. What's going on in there? Some parents are doing things, illegally, things that they're not supposed to be doing. And then the teenager winds up doing the same thing or grows up to be the same thing as their parents. We don't want that. So Yeshua, I'm just asking that you help in that area. I'm also asking that you help anybody on here that maybe I've really gotten to, be there with them, let them know that it'll be okay. They'll be all right as long as they try their best to do what's right in your eyes. Their life will be beautiful. So, in the name of Yeshua, amen. And Rabbi, I'll hand it over to you.
I don't have much to add except to just ask Father to continue to bless you and continue to draw the audience so that they can hear the messages that you are bringing forth. In the name of Yahushua, you've covered everything. I'm really blessed. And so all right. So here we are. So I guess you ended it, right?
Yes. I hope everyone that got on here and said a comment, thank you very much, and Father's very pleased. Thank you for listening, And I'm thinking about actually doing a second part of what I'm talking about, because it was a video that I saw about millennials, and I'm going to play just a little bit of that the next time. So the next time we get on, yes, I'm on purposely talking about similar stuff, just more stuff with stresses and how teenagers think in their heads. So thank you guys. I love all of you, and have a blessed night.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Good night.